from Anshe Sfard Bethel Emeth Congregation. It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Bhaalotecha, the anatomy of complaint. If we look at the book of Bamidbar, everything's going so swell. We have a wonderful setup, an encampment of 3 tribes on each side of the Mishkan. They're ready to march forward. They have the trumpet calls. They have the ark going in front of them. It's really, really beautiful. Everyone's participating, all the different tribes. There are people who want to be involved in our parsha. There are people who feel bad that they weren't able to do the Paschal Lamb. And then everything seems to fall apart. What happened? So I'd like to examine the anatomy of complaint. How we go from complaining to a complete downfall of the entire Jewish enterprise. Well, first we have the mitonanim, people who are complaining of sorts. Doesn't say what they just say something bad, and they are punished. Then we have the asafsuf, perhaps the rabble-rousers, and they hitavu tava, they wanted something. What did they want? Something. And they complain, they said, where's the meat, where's the fish? We remember the good old days in Egypt. And then even Moshe starts to complain. Then God complains about Moshe. Then Miriam and Aaron are complaining about Moshe. And the parsha ends on that note. I mean, things couldn't have gone worse. And from here, goes from bad to worse. Next parsha, Meraglim, spies. Next parsha, Korach, full-fledged rebellion. What's going on? So, if we turn to a different parsha, there's a Rashi there that tells us all about how things tend to break down and deteriorate. Rashi tells us in Vayikra, chapter 26, verse 15, he says, Harei Sheva Avirot, there are 7 sins that lead us to total breakdown. Number 1, Lo Lamad. First thing is, he didn't learn anything. Here we are in our parsha, they just got the Torah, and then they're ready to run away. As soon as they get that Torah, they are running. They can't wait. Vayisumi Hashem, they ran away from Mount Sinai. They don't remember a thing, so it's as if they didn't learn. Lo asa, number 2, once you don't learn, so then you don't do. If you don't know anything, so then who knows? When is Shavuos? When is Yizkor? Who knows? So we don't do either. Then, Mo'ez b'achirim ha'osim. Then, since you feel, I don't know anything, and I don't do anything, so how come other people are doing things? And some people develop a disdain for religious Jews, for religious individuals who do things, who do religious practices. And then, of course, the ultimate culprit, or the rabbis, sonei chachamim. Ultimately, he hates the rabbis too. He says, after all, who's in charge of all this stuff that we don't know, we don't do? It's the rabbis. It's their fault. And then muneh achirim. Then even worse, he says, I'm not going to let them get away with that. They want to have a religious life. We have to see what we can do about that. No one, of course, views themselves as so wicked or so explicitly so, but in subtle ways. They say, what do you mean? Why should other people be studying so much Torah? Why should other people be keeping Shabbos? We have to do something about it. Then the next step, they say, well, then the whole thing is nonsense. The Torah is not true. Someone made it up. There's all kinds of stories. And eventually, you say, well, since the Torah is not true, the person who began as a person part of the community, their bubby understood what Judaism was, their parents understood. All of a sudden, they're kofer be'ikar. They decide, you know what? The ultimate way of getting out of all this stuff that other people do, that I don't know, that I never learned, that I never do, the ultimate way to get out of it all is kofer be'ikar. There's no God. Total denial of everything that you could possibly have. Now in our parsha, you can't have that total deterioration, and they just started, after all, they're the new Jews, they just got the Torah. But the same sort of deterioration takes place. They begin to complain, and before you know it, they're complaining about food, they're complaining about Moshe, and ultimately it's Lama Tanasun Rivun Imadi Matanasun Hashem, who is ultimately The Jews testing God. The Jews ultimately questioning, is God really in our midst at all? This deterioration from running away from Sinai to complaining about Moshe, to even Miriam complaining about Moshe, to Korah complaining about Moshe, to the Jews complaining about Moshe and the story of the spies. Ultimately, it led to a breakdown, not only some detail of the Torah, but the entire enterprise of the entire Torah. You have to watch out for that. A person can one day be fully engaged Jew, and then because of some complaint about something that's going wrong in their life, or some mitzvah that they have trouble performing or doing or getting involved in, before you know it, there's a disdain for those who do, there's a disdain for the rabbis, there's a disregard, and ultimately, a person shocks themselves when they look around at their family and they see that some have even rejected God himself. It starts slowly, it's insidious. That's the parsha, that's Bhaalotecha, that's the complaining. It starts with they're a little bit hungry, they're a little bit hot, they're a little bit thirsty, they have legitimate complaints. It deteriorates from there. This is the parsha, and that's what it's all about. But what's the antidote? Well, where were they supposed to go? I mean, after all, people have complaints, things go wrong, there are problems. Here, we turn to the earlier part of parsha, when things are still going well. And God says, when you have you have tsaros, you have problems, pray to God. Simple solution. You have problems, pray. Don't say that Torah is wrong, Torah should be changed, everything's no good. In the general realm as well. Sometimes when we begin to complain, we begin to feel depressed, everything's no good. And before you know it, you see no value in your life at all. What we need to do is, when we have when there's a problem, there's tsaros, we need to blow out that call to God. And with that call to God, we're turning in the right direction. They're not complaining, not looking to point fingers at others, not looking to put down others, not looking to destroy the structure on which the community is built. Through prayer, we can deal with our issues, we can find a friend in God, and we can avoid the slippery slope of the anatomy of complaints. Let's hope, as we approach the Chag HaShavuot, or this Friday, Shabbos will be on the wings of Shavuot. Let's hope that we can, on the contrary, not go from complaints to total denial, but rather, on the contrary, go from Mount Sinai to even bigger and better things, from strength to strength. And in as much as we may sometimes be faced with great challenges that inevitably come up, let us hope that instead of going in the direction of the complaints, which can deteriorate, God forbid, in the most negative directions, let's hope we can turn to Hashem Yitbarach, to the great and almighty God, and turn to Him. God says, by all means, complain to me, speak to me, pray to me, call out to me. You'll be remembered before God. And while God is remembering us, we'll remember Him, we'll remember we have a Father in heaven, we'll remember the purpose of life to bring godliness to this world. We won't be lost in negativity, and hopefully, unlike the Jews in the desert, we will be able to march forward with joy. I want to wish everyone a Chag Shavuot Sameach, a Chag Sameach, have a good Yontif to everyone for Shavuos, and I want to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbos coming up. I want to thank Jason Lefkowitz, for our producer, for making everything possible, and thanks for joining us.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.